Hi everyone, welcome along to Through the Banner on thewest.com.au as we run our eyes over the team selections for this big weekend of footy in the AFL. COD and Skeet taking you through it off the back of some huge Olympic action on 7 West, including Jess Fox winning gold. And can we find some golden moments for our footballers? Let's talk about the grand final. Where will it be played? MCG. They still want it in Victoria.
They certainly do want it in Victoria, and they're coming up with as many different ways of making sure that it stays in Victoria as possible. The latest being called the Ring of Steel, Skeet. The idea that you can get everybody to be tested twice within the vicinity of the MCG before going into the ground. I'm not overly confident that it's going to work. What about you?
Well, if they get 60,000 at the MCG for a grand final, I think it will get the tick. Off the back of that, for me, I'm a fan of the vaccine passport, but maybe we're getting too political. Bottom line is, we want a grand final in front of a crowd. Maybe in Perth. The MCG, though, does have the contract. Bit of work to be done for the teams we're about to talk about to get to the grand final. The West Coast Eagles team selection. And let's talk about another milestone for them. Their former captain, their Premiership Captain, Shannon Hurn, reaches the magical 300 mark.
Yeah, first West Coast player to ever do it. Obviously, he is their games record holder, and we celebrated him earlier in the year when he passed Dean Cox's milestone. But to get to 300 games, it's the big milestone in footy. He's the 95th man to do it across VFL and AFL football. He's been a marvel, as you said, Premiership Captain, dual All-Australian, 3 Glendinning Allen medals, and just a wonderful leader in that back line, and just such a down-to-earth bloke. He's already said this week he's looking forward to game 301 more than game 300 because no one will care about 301.
And he's not on social media, so he won't see this, and he won't care because that's the way he rolls. He's just an underrated, a very quiet achiever, but so loved at the West Coast Eagles. So let's roll into their team that they're naming for the match against the Magpies on Saturday at the MCG. 2 important inclusions.
Yeah, the 2 Jacks, Jack Petruccelli and Jack Redden. Redden's been out for a while, obviously with a leg injury, and really bolsters that midfield, especially without Luke Shuey. And Jack Petruccelli's speed is really important. I mean, he can be a dynamic player, inconsistent at times, but when he gets it going, he's really important. And when you look at the players who are out for them, obviously Liam Ryan, just so important for that West Coast team after, unfortunately, pinging his hammy after kicking a goal and was celebrating last week. Mark Hutchings also goes out after 1 game back, and Jared Brand, the Medi-sub from last week, is also out.
So the West Coast Eagles will start favourites against the Magpies on Saturday. The Fremantle Dockers, they've named 6 inclusions. It's an expanded squad given a Sunday game against Richmond at the Optus Stadium. And Nathan O'Driscoll, potential debutant, pick 27 in the 2020 draft from the Perth Footy Club. He might play his first game. Yeah,
we talked about him last week as potentially coming in, and when he was in the squad, unfortunately didn't get the opportunity there. But it's looking likely now that you'd have to think, why wouldn't they play him? You want to have a look at as many players as possible. Rory Lobb's been ruled out for the year today, and they've already lost Nathan Fife, Michael Walters, and Alex Pearce. So they're running out of blokes to pick from. You want to see your draftees, and you'd hope that he gets an opportunity with, when you look at some of the other players who are coming in an extended squad, Josh Tracy, Brett Bewley, Joel Weston, Ethan Hughes and Toby Watson. So we've seen a lot of all of them. You'd like to get to see the opportunity for an O'Driscoll to come into that squad against Richmond, who have got Down Presti coming back in as a really significant name.
A lot of kids coming into that Fremantle side potentially. They're only half a game outside the top 8, but many people thinking they're planning for 2022 with the likes of Fife, Lobb, Walters, Darcy's even sore. A lot of injuries there. Will they get through unscathed? Sunday is another test for them. Before we get to some other big inclusions across the AFL, a big AFL name, a tumour operation, and a much-loved character at the North Melbourne Footy Club.
Yeah, Ben Cunnington, unfortunately, really serious when you consider what this could mean for his life outside of football. It's a testicular tumour that was discovered earlier on in the week. It's really rocked the North Melbourne Football Club. We saw Jesse Hogan go through this only a few years ago, and we saw how difficult it was for him to get back, and there's been many people throughout society who've struggled with this sort of diagnosis. So hopefully Ben, his wife, his kids, his entire extended family can all rally around and help him through this, and the North Melbourne Football Club can hopefully help him out with this as well, because it's never something you want to hear for anybody in life, and for Ben Cunnington, our well wishes go with him.
Well said, Cod. Let's have a look briefly at some of those other inclusions, big names or important inclusions for clubs around the competition as we roll into round 20 tomorrow night when the Saints play Carlton.
Yeah, and one of the big inclusions is in that game, and it's Rowan Marshall, who's out of quarantine from Perth, has flown home, and he will play. All of the quarantine boys are back, so Toby Green's back for the GWS, Kellen Mills is back for the Sydney Swans. But that game tomorrow night, Charlie Curnow has been recalled for Carlton, has had massive problems with his legs over several years now. The Blues have been desperate to get him in, and they will get a good look at him now for the first time in a long time. And Josh Dunkley is also back for the Western Bulldogs. Mark Murphy out, trying to get to 300 games, and they're dropping him, so it's really challenging for him now. You just wonder what they're doing with a bloke who's on the verge of 300 games.
I suspect David Teague trying to hold on to his spot as coach. That's a big call, and Mark Murphy really falls short. Sounds likely now that he's had that calf injury and been omitted.
Yeah, it's just really rough for him, and you'd like to see that these blokes, even if they're not 100% fit, chuck them on as a sub. You can do that these days. Play them for a quarter. Just do whatever you can to get these guys to what is such a significant milestone that Shannon Hurn is achieving this week. Other names, Eddie Betts out also. Isaac Rankin has been dropped by Gold Coast, obviously a top 10 pick. And Alex Skeet from the Western Bulldogs, really important player for them. He'll be out with injury.
Now, COD, given you're the top tipster in the West Australian newspaper and remind us on a weekly basis.
Yes,
just for the WA teams, the two games, so the tipsters are looking West Coast Collingwood.
I've got West Coast in that one.
And Fremantle hosting Richmond. A bit of a tricky game.
It is a tricky game. I'm tipping Richmond. I just think Fremantle running out of their match winners. Their stars aren't out there at the moment with Fife and Walters and these sorts of guys. So I'm tipping Richmond in that one.
There it is, through the banner for another week. Of course, we want you to like and subscribe to our Facebook, YouTube channel and get involved with all our footy news here at 7 West Media. Of course, for sport, for news, head to thewest.com.au. That's COD, I'm Skeet. Have a great weekend, enjoy your footy, enjoy your Olympics. We'll see you next week on Through the Banner on thewest.com.au.